All right. Welcome, everyone. The date is July 15th, 2021, and this is your long-term BTC update. Well, long-term and short-term BTC update. So I showed you guys this chart, I think, last time, and I just wanted to simplify things. I talked about the bullish divergence. I'm not going to go into that, but that is something that's playing out. But I wanted you to just kind of take a look at what's happened here since the COVID drop here. We've been in this bull run momentum. And even if I was going to track this line here, this guy right here, see, we've kind of just broken trend in a sense, like there. But anyways, what I wanted to show you guys here is what this is a fib retracement tool. And how you use that is you come up to here, fib retracement. Yours might look a little different than mine, but to do retracements, you start at the bottom and you go to the top. The local low to the local high, essentially. If you're using it for targets, you start from the top and you pull to the bottom, but that's a totally different thing and different way to use the fib retracement. We're using it for actual retracement here. So as we can see here is how this works. It works on a Fibonacci sequence, and within this range is a popular range for retracement. So this is a very long-term fib that I've drawn here, but you can see that it's played within this range quite well now. So here, here, and finally here, and that's what creates the top, so you can actually draw this tool and everything else. But what's really interesting is I have a critical close right here of that I picked up from a master trader that's sitting at 31,800, call it. And so if we get a daily close below, a daily or a weekly close below, it's usually not the greatest sign. So let's pop into here and look. So we've dipped and we've actually closed on the daily below this critical close, because if we start closing consecutive days under this line, we're most likely going to go down to here and start to battle here, which is from this 0.618, that is a battling area there. It's also a support and certain other things. So these are very close here, and I'm calling them just as they is. Same thing with this. This is close. And obviously, once we get down to this range, if we fight here and start closing on the daily below this, we're going to go down to here. And if we start closing on the dailies and weeklies below this region, I mean, that could take us all the way back down to $4,400 BTC. But most likely, if we do lose this level, we'll fight down in this level, which is that, 18,000, 16,000, some people might call it. I wouldn't even get too greedy once it reaches those levels. Just start buying some BTC, maybe set a deep stop loss of you could set a stop loss of 16,000 or maybe a little deeper. Really long-term investment, that would just be a spot trade, any type of thing. Long-term, if you were just adding to your long-term, just keep buying it on the way down, right? Bitcoin's always going to find its support somewhere and keep going up. So, and long-term, I definitely see us coming and recovering and making a nice, whatever this might be. Maybe it might be another drop here and drop, but I really do see us eventually recovering. And so I'm going to be just trading on, so that's the long-term. And for you guys to kind of look at what's potential. Another good way to look at this too is on the weekly, and just go draw this line on your own chart, this critical close, 31,800, and just look at now. So we're about 3 days to this weekly close, but we haven't had an actual clean close below this line. What's really interesting, if we come back to the day, is we've closed below this line before on the daily, but we've always usually been followed by a lot of momentum. We really didn't have a strong dip down, so we might continue with daily closes below this line. which right in time for this weekly. It's not proven. It's not 100%, but closing below a support line on the weekly is not good. That's an early sign. We will get a reaction from that, but that's an early sign that we're going lower. Same thing with the monthly. And so we've got 16 days here. And so as you can see, it doesn't want to close below those levels. So it's already closed below this level. So we'd have to fight that on the monthly now to get back about, well, it hasn't officially closed, I should say. 16 days till that closes. So no, we haven't actually lost this support level yet. So yeah, that's kind of how you can start. And I might go into a little bit more training on how you draw these support levels and stuff on another time. For now, look at my screen, plug those support levels in. You can already start to see it's just where price, support, supply, and demand is being tested. So anyways, I'll get into that another thing. Let's go into some short term really quickly. So my chart looks like looks like a candy cane or whatever, Christmas themed or something like that, because what I did is I went and drew out all these moon phases. So each time you see here when the red starts, that's the start of a new moon, and each time the green starts, that's the start of a full moon. So how this would work is new moon to new moon, full moon to full moon. Oh, right here. So in between here to now I'm drawing all over the place, painting for you guys like an artist I am. But if I go from here to there, it's 28 days, which is a full moon cycle, right? And so each one of these is just what we talked about in that video I shared. If you didn't watch this, essentially what they've kind of been saying, and it does kind of play out, is to some degree is at the end of the full, or I have it written, it's kind of confusing, but the full moon, when there's a full moon, that's the swing low, so the price should be at its lowest. And when it's a new moon, that's when the price should be at its highest. So it's actually the start of this red, so the end of the green, right? So at the end of this green should be the highest thing. So right there, it made sense, and then it dropped from there. End of this green kind of made sense. It dropped from there. End of this green kind of made sense. It dropped from there, you know? And the end of this green, this is where it's kind of saying was a little off there and delayed. We had the drop earlier, but then it drops. Green. And so it's definitely not bang on, but it seems like it's kind of a general throttle for me to kind of gauge, okay, like on this bigger, huger time scale, don't ask me why this is working. It could be for numerous reasons. It could be very spiritual, very physical. But so anyways, I'm just using these as a guide for right now. I'm going to see how it kind of works. I'm not going to try and get too sucked into that, but that's why those are there. So this will look confusing. Let's drop down to the 4 hour. Still kind of busy, but we've been in this range here. And so as you can see here, I've drawn myself another fib retracement tool and been watching it. And so that's where I've gotten some of these lines in the past, and that's where I've drawn to get some of my targets later on as well too. So as you can see, this is this target right here. I don't know why this isn't moved up to here, but that should be there. And this honestly should be there. So I think it moved it on my cell phone earlier, but it didn't save, so no big deal. So how this works is we've almost done a full retracement. There's only a couple lines left. If I just kind of turn this to retrace here, there's only this line here we have left the battle, and it's just not looking good from momentum indicators. We've got a little push up coming from the 4, but if we drop down even lower into this 1, we're really high here on this RSI indicator. We've got a long ways to create any type of like bearish or bullish divergence type of thing, or what should I say here? Yeah, no, we haven't created any type of, we've canceled the bearish divergence. Here was one place, and that's where we had that reaction. So here's how you can see how RSI is low here, right here, And this is the best way to draw this. Because this is what people did for me, and it really helps. So this is trending down. And the RSI is trending up. And so you're always looking at the bottom when you're looking for bullish divergence, and you're looking at the tops for bearish divergence. So this created a strong bullish divergence, and that's why we got this reaction. But the thing was there was too many bulls fighting, or too many bears fighting, and yeah, we basically canceled out and went down. So anyways, what I'm saying is here is we've got a stochastic RSI. Every time we kind of coil up and build, it comes down. So if you don't get a strong reaction out of this stochastic RSI, and back up to these levels and maybe even get a higher high by the time this is completed, all this momentum now is going to push it down. So very small. I don't know if that makes sense yet. I'll spend a more time on that on the way that I explain it. It's probably not even the official way, but it's the way I use it. But anyways, let's just kind of go like this for a second. Bullish, bearish, divergence, not. Let's just kind of look at these retracement levels and look what could kind of happen. So with this fib retracement here, this is the low that we created here, this 30,000. And so if a person wanted to, I would want to see a higher high start make, and I'd actually want to see this trend break before I start even really trading again, because it's just, I've been burnt so much. But if I do decide to trade, and if I do get in, it will be in BTC first, and that's it. Yes, it's the least amount for reward in the end, but it's the least amount for risk. And Bitcoin, if you get stuck in a trade, who cares? Like, you're in Bitcoin. It's going to go up eventually. You don't have to be worrying about something like being in Safe Moon and it literally going down to zero. And Moon Pirate. It's things like that I've gotten into in the past, which, whatever, you learn. So that's my thoughts on that. But this is my buy box right now, and so I see that it is... I see that it is good for a buy right now, but I'm not seeing any type of bullish divergence happening here. So we got a low here, but then it created a low here with RSI. So perfect example is we're going down on the indicators here. We're going down on the price. What I want to see is on this next candle here is I want to see the price go lower, but the RSI actually stay a little bit higher. So it would print maybe like this, while this would print down still. And then there would be a short term, definitely not the like, oh, it's the bull runs back on type of signal, but it would be a great short term trade. And then I would set a stop loss right below, right basically where our last low was, this 30,000 region. So then if I get in, and that's where I'm like, I'm kind of waiting to see if we break that, because if we break that on the way down, that's going to change a lot of this trade, because I'm like out of the buy zone and everything, right? And that could happen from a flash drop. Over this weekend, this is a little tidbit, Grayscale is basically like the stock trading guy's way of buying into Bitcoin. It's a publicly traded way to buy Bitcoin in a sense. This is the way I'm going to explain it. And all the guys with like big money, institutions, commercial money, they've bought in Grayscale, and they're getting their Bitcoin unlocked at a profit this Sunday. And essentially, if you dive into it, the whole research is like they get to sell their Bitcoin at a profit and go back and buy their Grayscale stocks again. So they're gonna do it. It's arbitrage that's just sitting there waiting juicy to happen. And so that's what which spike was it? If we go to the, just to kind of get an idea of this last pretty strong down sell here, I think right here was a Grayscale unlocking, and that was a small Grayscale unlocking on Sunday. So what's Sunday? Sunday is the 18th. Boom. 18th, that's Sunday. Expect that to be a pretty red day. That's where it's just like this. I might just put a little marker here for that. 18th. Is that what I said? Man, I'm dyslexic. Yeah, 18th. So the start of the 18th is where I draw these from. I don't even know what I want to make that, but just make it a solid line. Just want to know when that date happens and see if that kind of correlates with everything. But yeah, so I'm looking at if I take a short-term BTC trade, I'll get in, but I'll set my stop loss around the 30,000 because if we lose that, we're probably going to lose whatever this candle was. I don't know what that was. And that kind of aligns with this back candle, 30,000. We're already kind of challenging this wick. So if we lose any of these wicks, essentially, on like a daily close below this wick, you might get a reaction up, but it's a first indication that we're going lower. A daily close below a support line, and so like we can even, we talked about that, is the first indication that we're going lower. And we did close, like I showed you, just barely under this critical close, and it's not looking good on the short-term momentum to push us up above this. So yeah, short-term bearish is what it's looking like. If you don't have cash on the side already, that sucks. You know, we talked about this on the way down, taking out, we could have taken out at higher profits, but you know, this is where my stop loss for BTC was. So you know, I'm not crazy in profit for BTC, but I'm protecting my profits, right? And waiting to see how this plays out. Yeah. So, two scenarios. We drop down lower, create bullish divergence, and we hop in and just ladder in with maybe like 25% of our holdings in BTC and just ride that out and make some profits. Because there's always the opportunity, once we break trend, you can even buy right once it breaks these trends, and you could buy in more. But when we still have a lot of this downward momentum happening, not the best location. What you want to see is it to come up, trade a bit here, come down, retest this trend line, and then go up. It might even be this trend line that it does it on. So, and you can draw these trend lines by finding these highs and pulling them down. This was a fake out, so I actually should pull this. Oh. Still drying, so I should actually pull this down to here, which kind of matches up. So I'd like to see that happen, and honestly that could just sporadically happen, or I see bullish divergence play out and I hop in somewhere down in this area and set the stop loss here. So yeah, those are the two scenarios that could play out. Obviously some sporadic thing could happen and I could not get my entry now and it could just move out of this box. In that case, I don't care. I'm gonna maybe buy on this trend break and then maybe buy when it retests on there. Because if that's happening, something wild in the world is happening, and this is gonna go so fast, and every time it goes fast, it doesn't last. You just gotta know that. And if it's slow, it'll grow. So just last little tidbits for you guys. That's the play. Have a good time. Catch you next time. Peace.